What if I told you that a rusted farm truck from your grandfather's era just sold for more than a brand new Italian supercar? Welcome to the high-stakes world of classic American steel. Today we are cracking open the vault to reveal the top 10 rarest and most legendary old-school trucks ever built. We are talking about unstoppable 4x4 civilian tanks, insane factory loopholes that outran pure muscle cars, and gorgeous post-war masterpieces. But be warned, the phantom vehicle lurking at our number 10 spot is so incredibly rare, even hardcore automotive historians debate if it actually still exists. You simply cannot afford to miss this. Smash that subscribe button, buckle up, and watch until the very last second to discover the ultimate American unicorn. The birth of the American trucking industry can be traced back to a single revolutionary machine, the Ford Model TT. Introduced in July 1917, this was not just a slightly modified passenger car, it was a dedicated workhorse engineered to handle the heavy lifting that a rapidly expanding industrial nation demanded. Back then, a brand new Model TT bare chassis would set you back a mere $600. Fast forward to today, and a fully restored museum-quality example can easily command upwards of $50,000 at a high-end classic car auction. What made the Model TT so special was its reinforced heavy-duty frame and a specialized worm-drive rear axle that gave it a massive, officially rated 2,000-pound payload capacity. It utilized the exact same 177 cubic-inch, 20-horsepower four-cylinder engine as the Model T, but with significantly lower gearing. This allowed it to pull incredibly heavy loads over the treacherous, unpaved dirt roads of early 20th century America. However, this unmatched pulling power came at the cost of speed. The recommended top speed was a blistering 15 miles per hour. Buyers initially only purchased the bare chassis, relying on independent coach builders to construct custom wooden beds and cabs suited to their specific farming, delivery, or firefighting trades. The Model TT essentially built the foundation of the Ford commercial empire, proving that there was a massive market for a tough, reliable commercial vehicle. It remained in production until 1927, selling over 1 million units and forever changing the landscape of American agriculture. But if you think the Model TT was revolutionary, wait until you see how Ford completely changed the game after World War II. After World War II, America was ready to rebuild, and Ford answered the call in 1948 with the introduction of the legendary F-Series, starting with the iconic half-ton Ford F1. This truck marked a massive shift in automotive history. For the very first time, Ford built a truck on a dedicated truck chassis rather than simply beefing up a passenger car frame. Originally priced at around $1,200, the F1 was an accessible tool. Today, pristine modifications of the F1 routinely fetch well over $100,000. The F1 was officially marketed as the bonus-built truck, and it introduced a concept that was wildly foreign to commercial vehicles at the time: driver comfort. Ford widened the cab by 7 inches, moved the steering column for better ergonomics, and installed a thicker coil spring seat. Under the hood, buyers could choose between the highly reliable 226 cubic-inch flathead inline-6 or the legendary 239 cubic-inch flathead V8 engine, providing the perfect balance of low-end torque and smooth open highway capability. This vehicle ignited the famous Detroit rivalry, setting the absolute gold standard for what a modern pickup should be. The F1's rounded front fenders, distinct flat 5-bar grille, and aggressive stance made it an instant classic. It wasn't just a machine, it was a bold statement of post-war American prosperity and engineering prowess. It proved that you could drive to the job site on Monday and take your family to town on Saturday. Ford had the market cornered, but Chevrolet was about to unleash a masterpiece that would redefine American roads. In the fierce Battle of Detroit, Chevrolet refused to play second fiddle. In the summer of 1947, they launched the Advanced Design Series, with the half-ton Chevrolet 3100 leading the charge as the #1 selling truck in America. This was Chevy's first major redesign post-war, and it was an absolute showstopper. Back then, you could drive one off the dealer lot for roughly $1,100. Today, the advanced design trucks are the absolute darlings of the custom hot rod world, crossing auction blocks for over $150,000. The Chevrolet 3100 was a pure design marvel. It featured a larger, stronger, and sleeker body than its pre-war predecessors, boasting a fully integrated 5-window cab option that offered unprecedented visibility and a gorgeous panoramic look. Chevy focused heavily on ergonomics, introducing fresh air heaters and a dashboard that actually looked like it belonged in a stylish sedan. Powered by the incredibly durable 216 cubic-inch Thriftmaster inline-6 engine, the 3100 was not built to win drag races, but it was renowned for its bulletproof reliability. The cultural impact of the 3100 cannot be overstated. It became the quintessential image of the classic American farm truck, deeply embedded in Hollywood movies, vintage advertisements, and Americana art. It was smooth, reliable, and undeniably beautiful with its pontoon fenders. It frequently outlasted the very people who originally purchased it for hard labor on the family farm. While Chevrolet was busy making things look pretty and dominating the light-duty passenger market, Ford was quietly building a factory lifted off a road monster that would change the 4x4 game forever. Enter the Ford F-250 Highboy, a legendary moniker given to 4x4 F-250s built from 1967 up until mid-year 1977. This truck wasn't just built, it was weaponized for the dirt. The nickname Highboy was never official Ford nomenclature, but it perfectly described the truck's aggressive, towering factory-lifted stance. In the late 60s, a new 4x4 F-250 cost around $3,500. Today, finding a rust-free, original Highboy is extremely difficult, and collectors are willing to pay upwards of $80,000. The secret to the Highboy's towering ride height was its unique drivetrain geometry. To accommodate the massive front differential and leaf spring suspension, Ford used a divorce transfer case. This meant the transfer case was separated from the transmission and connected by a short intermediate drive shaft. This engineering necessity required the entire truck frame to sit roughly 4 inches higher than its two-wheel drive counterparts. This factory lift allowed owners to slap on massive 35-inch off-road tires right off the showroom floor without ever needing to cut or modify the original steel fenders. The Highboy represented a time when trucks were unapologetically utilitarian. It rode rough, it was loud, and it drank gas like a thirsty camel, but it possessed a mechanical purity that modern off-roaders can only dream of. Equipped with heavy-duty Dana front axles, it was the undisputed king of the construction site and the deep logging trail. It was built to take severe punishment and ask for more. Rugged off-road capability was great, but soon Americans wanted true luxury combined with their utility. Enter the 1970s game-changer. By the mid-1970s, the pickup truck was undergoing a massive identity crisis. It was no longer just a farm implement. It was rapidly becoming a daily driver for the suburban family. Ford recognized this cultural shift and introduced the F-150 in 1975. But it was the high-end Ranger XLT trim of the Dentside era that truly changed the landscape. Priced around $4,500 back then, a mint condition, historically accurate, two-tone F-150 Ranger XLT now frequently commands over $60,000. The Ranger XLT package brought unprecedented car-like luxury to the rugged F-Series. It featured deep pile color-keyed carpeting, simulated wood-grain dash appliques, factory air conditioning, and plush cloth or vinyl seating that rivaled the comfort of a luxury sedan. The exterior was draped in stunning two-tone paint jobs, brilliantly separated by intricate chrome moldings and the famous racetrack trim. Underneath the glamorous exterior, however, it still housed powerhouse engines like the massive 460 cubic-inch V8, proving you didn't have to sacrifice towing capacity for comfort. Trivia time. Speaking of classic truck beds, do you know why early manufacturers overwhelmingly preferred wooden floors over stamped steel? Drop your guess in the comments below and I will pin the correct answer. Hint: It was not just to look pretty or save money. The F-150 Ranger XLT proved that America was finally ready for a premium truck experience. Ford brought the luxury in the 70s, but Chevrolet actually did the gentleman's pickup decades earlier with a very weird material. Long before the luxury truck craze of the 70s and 80s, Chevrolet took a massive, unprecedented gamble in 1955 with the introduction of the Cameo carrier. This was America's very first true gentleman's pickup. Chevy wanted a truck that looked just as at home parked at a high-end country club as it did outside a local hardware store. Originally retailing for about $2,000, which was a very steep premium over their standard models, the Cameo was a rare sight. Today, a concours quality Cameo can easily fetch over $120,000. What made the Cameo wildly unique and historically significant was its bed. Instead of the traditional step-side design where the rear fenders bulged out, Chevy utilized sleek, smooth fiberglass bedside panels. This was the exact same lightweight material used in the new Corvette. They attached these fiberglass panels to the standard steel bed, creating a seamless flush appearance from the cab all the way to the tailgate. The Cameo also featured unique chrome bumpers, a hidden spare tire compartment, and a beautiful two-tone interior. It was powered by Chevy's legendary 265 cubic-inch small-block V8. Despite its undeniable beauty and strong V8 performance, the Cameo was simply too expensive for the average blue-collar worker and was quietly discontinued by 1958. However, its flush fender design permanently revolutionized the entire industry, forcing every single manufacturer to eventually adopt the fleet-side truck beds we see on every modern pickup today. It was a beautiful pioneer. Fancy is nice, but what if you needed a vehicle to literally conquer a mountain? You would need a civilian tank. When World War II ended, returning troops wanted a truck that was as tough, reliable, and capable as the military vehicles they had relied on to survive overseas. Dodge delivered exactly that in 1946 with the legendary Wagon. This wasn't just a heavily modified civilian truck. It was essentially a 3/4-ton military weapons carrier wearing a slightly different civilian suit. You could buy one brand new for about $1,600. Fast forward to the modern era, and custom Restomod Power Wagons are absolute elite collector items, regularly shattering $300,000. The Power Wagon was an absolute, unapologetic brute. It was the first mass-produced 4x4 civilian truck in America, featuring a virtually indestructible 230 cubic-inch flathead inline-6 engine. What it lacked in high-speed horsepower, it made up for with pure, unstoppable low-end torque. It featured a massive factory-available 10,000-pound power takeoff winch mounted right on the front bumper. This winch was entirely capable of pulling the heavy truck up a vertical cliff or rescuing lesser vehicles from deep, muddy swamps. The Dodge Power Wagon wasn't built for comfort. It was built for absolute survival in the harshest conditions on Earth. Its utilitarian styling remained largely unchanged for decades, simply because you cannot improve upon a tank. It permanently cemented Dodge's reputation for building the toughest trucks on the planet. The Power Wagon was a beast in the mud, but another Chevrolet required a highly specialized aftermarket conversion just to keep up with it in the dirt. In the early 1950s, if you wanted a 4x4 Chevy or GMC, you could not just check a box at the local dealership. General Motors simply did not build a factory 4x4 pickup until the late 1950s. Enter the Northwestern Auto Parts Company, better known as NAPCO. They created a legendary, highly engineered four-wheel drive conversion kit known as the Power Pack. A brand new Chevy truck with a dealer-installed NAPCO conversion cost around $2,500. Today, pristine, verified models sell for well over $150,000. The NAPCO Power Pack was a stroke of pure engineering genius. It allowed certified dealerships to transform a standard two-wheel drive Chevy 3100 into an unstoppable mountain goat in just a few hours, with minimal cutting or welding to the factory frame. The kit included a heavy-duty front drive axle, a divorce transfer case, and specialized drive shafts. These converted trucks were heavily utilized by utility companies, the military, and adventurous farmers who needed to traverse impossible mountainous terrain where standard trucks would immediately sink and get stuck. By 1957, General Motors finally recognized the massive consumer demand and started installing NAPCO systems directly on the factory assembly line before eventually designing their own in-house 4x4 system for the 1960 model year. Because they were exclusively used as extreme work trucks, very few authentic NAPCO Chevys survived the brutal conditions they were subjected to, making them absolute unicorns today. We have seen off-road kings, but what happens when a truck decides to outrun a Corvette and break every emission law in the book? Welcome to 1978, the dark ages of American muscle cars. Strict EPA emission regulations had completely choked the life out of once mighty V8 engines. But Dodge engineers found a brilliant, completely legal loophole. Because the government's emission rules primarily applied to passenger cars and light trucks, they realized that a truck with a gross vehicle weight rating strictly over 6,000 pounds was entirely exempt from having a restrictive catalytic converter. To exploit this, Dodge bumped the rating to exactly 6,050 pounds, and thus the Dodge Lil Red Express was born. Dodge took their D150 short wheelbase step-side truck, painted it bright canyon red, and slapped massive gold decals on the doors. But the real magic was under the hood, a highly modified 360 cubic inch V8 featuring the E58 Police Interceptor code, breathing freely through a 4-barrel carburetor. Because it had no catalytic converters to restrict exhaust flow, Dodge boldly routed the exhaust up through massive functional chrome vertical smokestacks right behind the cab. The result was a jaw-dropping 225 net horsepower. The Lil Red Express was an absolute menace on the streets. In fact, Car and Driver magazine famously tested it and declared it the fastest American-made vehicle from 0 to 100 miles per hour in 1978, utterly humiliating the Chevrolet Corvette, the Pontiac Trans Am, and everything else on the road. It was a giant middle finger to the EPA and a glorious, roaring final chapter of the American muscle car era. A muscle truck is crazy, but our final truck is a ghost. It is a heavy-duty beast disguised as a high-end luxury hauler. We have arrived at the ultimate classic truck unicorn, the Diamond T Model 201. Founded in Chicago, the Diamond T Motor Car Company was famous worldwide for building massive heavy-duty commercial rigs and military transport vehicles. However, from 1938 to 1949, they built the Model 201, a highly specialized one-ton pickup truck designed exclusively for elite clients. It was widely and accurately known as the Cadillac of trucks. Back in the 1940s, it cost over $1,000, a massive premium over a Ford or Chevy. The Diamond T201 was an absolute masterpiece of Art Deco styling. It featured a massive, intricate chrome grille, gracefully flowing pontoon fenders, a two-piece V windshield, and a beautifully appointed interior that included a passenger car-style dashboard. It even had a deluxe banjo steering wheel and standard features like an electric clock and a cigar lighter. These luxuries were practically unheard of in a commercial work truck. Underneath this beautiful shell was a nearly indestructible frame and a bulletproof 236 cubic inch Hercules inline-6 engine. Diamond T absolutely refused to compromise on quality, heavily over-engineering every single mechanical component. Because of its exceptionally high price tag, it was primarily purchased by wealthy gentleman farmers, successful contractors, and Texas oil tycoons who wanted to arrive at the job site in absolute style. When production finally ended in 1949, the Model 201 faded into legend. Finding a verified original today is the holy grail of classic truck restoration, a perfect, unrepeatable blend of unstoppable brawn and unmatched elegance. From the utilitarian roots of the Ford Model TT to the loophole-exploiting muscle of the Dodge Lil Red Express, and the ultra-rare elegance of the Diamond T201, these classic trucks did not just haul cargo, they literally carried the weight of American automotive history. They are mechanical legends that will never be duplicated. Which of these iconic trucks would you choose for your dream garage? Let us know down in the comments. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and keep the classic spirit alive. We will see you in the next one.